Welcome to All Things Financial with Jack Driscoll. Each week, Jack takes on all things you thought were hard to understand about your finances and makes it fun, easy, but most of all interesting. From insurance to the best way to save your money and squeeze the most out of the dollars you put aside for your rainy day. And now, you have a friend in the money business. Here's your host, Jack Driscoll.
Welcome back again, everyone, to another edition of All Things Financial. You know what we're doing at the beginning of this year is reevaluating. What I'm trying to get everyone that's listening and watching these videos to do is take this month as an opportunity to re-examine your lives, where you are right now, where you hoped you would be, where you're trying to get to, and really see, do we think we're going to achieve your goals? And just like now is the time for the NFL championship rounds, you'll see a lot of the teams that have been knocked out are making major changes, and they're making them in a hurry. They're firing coaches, they're firing coaching staffs, they're getting new coaching staffs positioned already. Well, folks, listen, why do you think that is? Just as I've said the last couple weeks, to really get anywhere in life, you have to assemble a good, strong team around you. What I'm talking about can equally be seen when you look at these NFL teams that are trying to strive to the highest level. Now, what I want you to do is think of the simile, the parallel that I'm talking about with football, with money. And your team is your money. So your dollars are your team. What you do with your dollars and how you position your dollars is how you position each player on the field. And each has its own purpose. And I want you to think of financial planning exactly that way. We're trying to execute a game plan, we're trying to win the games, and we're trying to win the Super Bowl every year. And most teams fail, but that does not mean they're not getting ahead and getting better and better every year and making the most of the talent and the opportunities that they have, while you'll see other teams have a higher degree of talent and a higher opportunity and achieve less, and you wonder why. Well, sometimes that's the team of coaches that needs reassembled, that might not be getting the most out of each player. And I want you to see the same parallel in your own lives with money. So I position this as the players on the football field and the dollars in your arena that you get to position are the players. So when I say assemble a team, I mean the team of coaches, the team of professional advisors in your lives, for financial advisors, life insurance, auto and home insurance, CPAs, certified public accountants, good legal attorneys. What I want you to do is assemble a good representative team of advisors, as I've said. So the first week's show in 2015 was to evaluate your lives, evaluate your goals, and evaluate your plan. Number 2 was to begin to assemble a good financial, legal, tax, and insurance team around you. You don't see many football teams without a coaching staff. And you don't see any football teams achieve much if they don't have the best coaching staff. So they place a high importance on their players being best positioned and having the best players in each position. But you need to look at this and say, have I assembled a team that can help me position all of my players, which are your dollars and all of your needs, to get the most out of everything and all the resources that you have? Well, most of you haven't. So I'm re-imploring all of you to please call me, let me get involved and help you assemble a good financial, insurance, tax, legal team that all works together. Not that you go to the defensive coach and you get their advice, and then you go to the offensive coach separately and get their advice, and neither two know what's going on. No, I mean a team that's all working together. That's the only way to get the most out of yourselves, and it's hard to do, folks. So that's what I'm stressing. Now, in every stage of your lives, I really see, different issues. We see it from, you have a 1-year-old, you have a newborn or a 1-year-old. We have different financial planning situations than we have when you just got out of college or high school and aren't even married, and you just got your first job. And whether that first job's at McDonald's, or whether it's at working on a road crew, or whether it's being an electrician apprentice, it doesn't matter. The first job are your first paychecks. So the big question I have for all of you when you first start out on your own, and you might still be living at home while you're doing it, is what are you doing with the paychecks? Because they're brand new paychecks. Now, you may have to pay rent at home to live there. So there are basics that you have to cover. But beyond the basics, that's where most people begin going wrong right out of the chute. Because there's no set purpose for where that money should go, so it gets put to wherever you and I would like it to go. That means we buy cars, we go out to eat, we go out in entertainment, we do things, we go on vacations, we buy clothes, we do all the things that we want to do, but it's all now. So what I want to get you to see is, in every stage of your life, this team of financial professionals, and maybe it starts with who your parents' professionals were, and they can help start you off on the right foot. If I can catch a family before, or even an individual before they even become a new family, and I can get them, let's say, to start saving 10%, the first 10% of everything they make, and never live on that, we're off to a running start. We're hitting the ground running toward achieving far more financial goals than you ever might be able to achieve if we don't meet until you're in your 40s. And you already have all your bills and obligations and burdens dragging you down and dragging on you. So you see the difference. The earlier, the better. Now, let's take some of these stages in life. I've shared with you over many shows, many opportunities. But let's talk about some simplistic stages in life. Many people ask me, when do I put this team together? I don't have enough money yet. I don't make enough money yet. So I shouldn't get this team together until I have enough money. And I'll say this, listen, right when you're out of school, if you call your parents' advisors, it's a good start. If you call me, I work with kids of parents who we have as clients who want an opportunity to begin saving and don't really know how. So we get that situation all the time, and it's helping the next generation. So let's put it this way. You get out of school, you get your first paycheck, somebody gets you on the right habits, and then you decide you get engaged and you get married. Now, what a wonderful situation. Now you have an opportunity that most people don't recognize or realize. A wonderful opportunity. Not only of the sacrament of marriage, but also you now have two incomes coming in to support one lifestyle. There's one residence. So maybe one was living at home, one was living in an apartment already. It doesn't matter. But whatever it is, we have two incomes to support one lifestyle pretty much. We usually have money left over. We don't always. We have 2 car payments. I mean, we already have some obligations, but there's a lot of money freed up there in many cases. So what we want to try to do is evaluate your near-term goals. We don't want to do long-term retirement planning. We want to look at your near-term financial goals. That's, are you living within your budget? Do you have a lot of money left over? Are you trying to save up for what? Well, guess what? Trying to save up for a house might be your first. That might be your first near-term goal. So we don't want to waste all of your money or let you splurge all of your money. We want to put it to good use and start setting it aside, not for any other reason, but we have a specific purpose to save up a down payment for a house and make sure to get a good credit rating built. And then let's say you also are considering having children. So now we have a newborn. Well, now the grandparents are getting involved because grandparents love grandchildren. So you have a situation where the grandparents are saying, hey, we want to open up an account for little Johnny Jr. or whoever, and we want to start saving or putting money away for their future. Well, their future to the grandparent usually means college. So they want to start a college fund. So we might be talking about 529 plans. We might be talking about just savings in a bank. We don't know. But the issue is discussions are starting at every life change. And if you don't have a good financial coaching team, you forgot to do your wills. You forgot to call the attorney. So you don't have any legal plan in place maybe. And you forgot to ask a tax professional because you're doing it on your own on the software that you can get online. You forgot to ask, hey, what are the different tax ramifications or strategies if we do this versus that now that we're married, and should we this and that? You're missing all of that. And then you look at your plans at work and you say, should we be saving more or should we not be saving more? You're missing the boat very early on. And small mistakes early on, it's just like shooting an arrow a long distance to a target, being off a very small amount at the point of release can put you off the whole target, miss the target entirely at the point of impact. So making small mistakes early turn into, in many cases, large mistakes later on. That's why you hear so many of us who have been around for a while say, oh, if I only knew now, if I only knew then what I knew now. You don't want to say that 30 years from now. You want to be the ones that are saying that? No. You want to be the ones saying, thank goodness someone shared with me their 30 or 40 years worth of knowledge when I was 18 and 20 and 25, so that I could benefit from all of that knowledge and not make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. I'm so much better off now that you're in your 40s and 50s, you'll say, because I got a good start early on, and I can never thank that person enough, and that person isn't even around anymore to be able to thank, and you're forever indebted. So that's why we put together teams early. The earlier, the better. When we do 529 plans, when we do savings plans at CDs in the banks, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It matters that you're planning before you're doing, just like any game plan on the football field. Now listen, my shows are going to start getting technical very quickly again because I'm going over some generalities here in the beginning of the year to try to get you focused. But you know I get technical on these shows. I have advanced strategies that I share. And for every stage in life, I have strategies for those. We have gifting strategies and we have different tax strategies. I mean, I've shared with you over, even just last year, net unrealized appreciation. When you have company plans at work and you have company stock and you're able to take the retirement package and you take it out and you can actually take the shares of the stock in some cases, segregate that out from the rest of the retirement assets, the qualified assets, have what we call net unrealized appreciation, pay tax on only the basis. Right now, current tax at an ordinary income tax rate on the basis of the original stock purchase price, and the rest of the gains stay sheltered right now, and any future gains also stay sheltered as an after-tax plan where you really pay tax on all of those prior gains and future gains at a long-term capital gains tax rate of maybe no more than 15%. All right, folks, have I confused you? That's what it is. We can get advanced on this show. And that's what I do. I teach advanced strategies to help share with many of you. You can't do this on your own. You can try, but people will say, if I'm at a party or I share an idea or something, I'll say, they say, how much can we gift a year? And I say, oh, everybody thinks it's $10,000 a year, but it's really $14,000 a year. And they'll say, yeah, that's what I thought. I gifted $14,000 because it's for college. And I'll say, but did you realize you can make a direct gift toward the college? And it could be any amount as long as you're paying the tuition directly to the institution on behalf of the student and still not have to use up that $14,000 limit. And in fact, in addition, pay medical bills directly, and neither of those two count, and you could still gift $14,000 directly to the child or whoever it is. In addition to, what? I didn't know all of that. And I'll say, well, of course you didn't know all of that. And they'll say, well, you really have us at a disadvantage because you do this all day long and you get paid to do this, and you're studying this all the time. And I say, that's exactly my point. I'm studying and doing this all day long. I do have you at a disadvantage. You need me and my help, and others like me. You need to assemble the teams because of what you don't know. That's powerful information we're talking about. I've shared strategies in the past already about someone who I run into, and I try to share these strategies, but someone who had a large loss position in stocks, and they were in their 70s, and they have a large loss position. I mean, like $120,000, let's say, which might not be large for some of you and might seem large for others. Well, how much of a loss are you allowed to deduct in any 1 year if you don't have offsetting capital gains? $3,000 a year against your ordinary income. Well, $120,000, you're going to be a long time. It's like 40 years worth of $3,000 a year, and you're probably not going to make it. So what's happening is you're deducting $3,000 a year on your ordinary income, but guess what happens when you die? When you die, it dies. So any unused losses, deductions that you would have otherwise been eligible for, they die when you die. Now, my strategy was simple, and I shared it on a prior show, but the reason I'm bringing it up now is these shows are going to get technical, but assemble your team first or you won't be able to make sense out of what I'm saying. Get me involved in helping you assemble the team, and you'll find some benefits here. But what happens is, what I shared was a possible strategy of gifting those stocks that had the very, very high basis, which has the very, very big loss, to your grandkid or your child. And what happens is the child, which is the parent now of the grandchild, might be in a high income tax bracket, maybe even higher than your income tax bracket. The losses may benefit them more, or they may have many other opportunities. So you're actually gifting your losses. Do you see what I mean? You're gifting shares that might be next to worthless. So the value isn't important. It might be worth $5,000 now, but you paid $120,000. And they say, oh boy, thanks a lot, Dad. And you say, no, you don't understand. My financial advisor, Jack Driscoll, taught me that you can deduct $3,000 every year off these losses as they're sold, or that they already are sold. Right now, these shares on this particular case, he didn't have the shares sold. He was selling them every year to deduct the loss. So you gift the stock, let the son or daughter or whoever it is sell them, and now they have the loss. The basis carries over to them. And that means they have the high basis, they get the deductions every year. $3,000 might be at a much higher income. Now, I've shared other ideas, and I have run across loads of them, and I run into these things at different stages of life, and I'm trying to share them as much as I can with as many of you as I can. But it works. It just works. If you establish a team of competent professionals that are all working together at all stages in your life, we see Medicaid planning opportunities. We see long-term care insurance. And I will do, folks, be patient. I will do a whole series on long-term care, long-term health care. I'm getting asked more and more and more and more and more, what do? We don't know what to do with our parents or our grandparents if they get sick or now that they're sick. We don't know what to do. We also get the question a lot of times, long-term care, if we want to buy long-term care insurance, do we buy it as a rider on the life insurance, or do we buy the long-term care insurance directly? And then I say, well, if we're going to consider buying the long-term care insurance directly, did you want it to be tax-deductible premiums, partially or wholly tax-deductible premiums? If so, it has to be in a Pennsylvania partnership plan. But one of the benefits in a Pennsylvania partnership plan is You get to, if it's done properly, if you buy a plan that has $300,000 or $400,000 benefit, should you go into a nursing home that it might pay, then in a Pennsylvania partnership plan, if it's structured properly, it might have the potential to automatically exempt that $300,000 or $400,000 or the first $300,000 or $400,000 of your assets that might otherwise have been exposed to the risk of loss to the nursing home because you bought a Pennsylvania partnership plan, that those assets are now protected because you bought an equal amount of long-term care insurance, and once that's used up, the first $300,000 or $400,000 or an equal value might be exempt. That's in addition to the spousal impoverishment exemption that you get from the Act in 1989 that protects in Pennsylvania one house and some of the assets, half of the assets up to limits and half of the income. So folks, listen. Everything I'm trying to share with you begins with a good base. And the base is not understanding everything that we know, we financial professionals, insurance professionals, tax professionals, and legal professionals. It's not knowing what the doctor knows. It's knowing who's the doctor to go to. And the final thing that you have to know is when you go to that doctor, once you finally assemble this team, same thing with a medical team, trust the advice you get and follow it. We get so many times someone asks for advice and then they don't follow the advice and they wonder why it goes wrong. You have the wrong team. If you don't feel like you're getting where you're supposed to be going, now might be the exact time in your life to reevaluate who it is you have on your team that's giving you advice and see if it might be better to give us a call and see if we might be able to help you establish and assemble maybe a better direction for your future than you feel like you're on right now. All right, folks, we're out of time. I'm just ready to get into the technical shows, as you could see, but we'll try to wrap this up over the next week or so in January and then get you rolling toward a very healthy future for yourselves financially. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back again next week.
You've been listening to All Things Financial with your friend with the answers to all financial matters, Jack Driscoll of Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Sage Point Financial Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer and registered investment advisor and member FINRA and SIPC. Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services is not affiliated with Sage Point Financial, Inc. or registered as a broker, dealer, or investment advisor. You can reach Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services Incorporated at 412-833-1500, and they are located at 2738 South Park Road, Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, 15102.